What is going on, Peep Squad? My name is Luke from Casual Experts, and this video is about Mr. Mercedes. So, about a year ago, I read The Outsider, and I was not particularly impressed by that book. But going through kind of the... I want to read as many Stephen King books as possible because I really like his work. And so what I'm doing now kind of is going through not only everything that has been adapted, but also everything that has a sequel. So right now I've been knocking out The Dark Tower, and then this is also one that has a sequel. This is a start of a trilogy, but then also they spin off into The Outsider, and then The Outsider has a sequel too in If It Bleeds. But anyway, this book was pleasantly surprised by this book. If you've read The Outsider but not this one, I highly recommend you read this one. This one isn't as much a mystery as The Outsider was. This is more... it follows a retired detective as he tries to, so the big case that he did when he was working as a detective went unsolved, and the perpetrator of that case, I'm not sure if that's the right word, by the way, basically is taunting him, and so he comes out of retirement to solve this case as like one last hurrah, even though it's not, because this is the beginning of a trilogy. But I really like this book. This isn't so much a mystery as it's a detective story. It's not a mystery because you figure out who did it pretty early on, and that's not really the point of the book. The point of the book is to have these two characters, and they're kind of trying to outwit each other, like they're playing like chess. And it's like the detective does something, and then the bad guy does something, and then they react to each other, and then they're trying to outsmart each other. And there are just so many different twists and turns in this book. By the time I got to the end of it, I didn't know what was going to happen just based on all the crazy shit that happened beforehand. But yeah, this is one of the best ones I've read. Definitely top 10 King books for sure. Honestly, going through, I've been finding out that like the early 2010s, late 2000s, kind of that era from like 2006 to like 2015 is like prime King, at least for me. And then this book fits very nicely in that era. But I also watched the television show on Peacock, and this is only about the first season of the show because that one's based on this book, and I'll watch the other seasons as I read the other books because I think season 2 is actually based on book 3, and so they're out of order, so I'm basically probably going to do both books and both seasons in the same video. But anyway, this one is about Mr. Mercedes. I feel like this book is definitely shorter for King. It's not even 600 pages. It's about 530. And that's kind of on the shorter end for King, and so I don't necessarily feel like this book demands a 10-hour season devoted to it, because that's what happened. There were 10 episodes, and every episode was an hour long, and I feel like the biggest problem I have with this show is that it's just too stretched out, and they're adding too many things just to fit that 10-hour time limit. I don't think that was totally necessary. Like The Stand, Stephen King's biggest book, is maybe like 6 or 7 hours long, the series. Both of them are only around 6 hours. The Stand was adapted twice, and both adaptations of that book were only about 6 hours long. And so I don't think this book is not even half that size. And I feel like it doesn't necessarily need a 10-hour adaptation. So yeah, they add a bunch of stuff that I don't think is necessary. Like they kind of flesh out the character of Freddie? No, Frankie. Is it I don't remember. It's the coworker. She gets a whole backstory, and even the supervisor of the store where Brady, with the store where Brady works, a lot of his coworkers, Brady's the main villain of the book. A lot of his coworkers get expanded backstory. Like you learn a lot about the coworker as well as the supervisor. They both get like a whole fleshed out backstory and like side plot, and his mom does too. Like there's a whole episode devoted to her overcoming her alcohol addiction, and it just seems like, why are we doing this? Like even like the crazy neighbor who in the book only has a few scenes, she's kind of, her role is expanded to be like secondary love interest in the show, which is bizarre. But yeah, and I feel like it's really odd because the events are in a different order in the show, and so I feel like that kind of takes away some of the weight of these. Without getting into spoilers, it basically takes away a lot of the weight of these events because they're in a different order, and so they don't like flow the right way, if that makes sense. And I feel like the ending is a lot less climactic as in the book. This is really good ending. But I feel like in the show it's kind of minimized a little bit. But Holly, the character of Holly, she is introduced in this book, and I think Stephen King said that's one of his favorite characters he ever created. And in Mr. Mercedes, no, I'm sorry, in The Outsider and in If It Bleeds, her character, I've read those stories, and her character's not great, but in this, her character is amazing. Like, I'm not sure what happened between this book and the others, but in this, her is a really incredible, really good character. A lot of the main characters in this, a lot of all the characters in this are really, really good. But yeah, so I want to talk a little bit about Brady before I close. I really like the way that King writes just these like demented people. Like, if you've read The Stand, he's a lot like Harold almost, but he's kind of this social reject, kind of demented character. Almost, if you've read Rage, the only Stephen King book that's ever been discontinued, it's kind of like that as well. But it's really interesting to see like he doesn't justify their actions, but he kind of like puts you in their headspace, and so you understand what they're doing. It doesn't make it right, obviously, because these people are doing horrible things, but you definitely understand their mindset and their reasoning, and I think that's really, really interesting. Something that King does very, very well. But yeah, that's about all I had, and comment down below with what you thought about the show, the books, what you thought about The Outsider, what you thought about Holly, If It Bleeds, and all that good stuff. And I will see you next time. Make sure to comment, subscribe, and check out the links in the description. We just came out with a new podcast episodes. Make sure you check that out. And I will see you next time. Peace out.